All right, question 2 here. Basically, in response to question 1, so how do those adaptations basically assist in temperature regulation and in athletic performance? So basically, same things we were talking about, right? We basically have like heat, it's acclimation to heat. How does that going to affect athletic performance? It's going to improve, obviously. So basically, we're saying like it's going to enhance the athletic performance by basically reducing physiological strain and basically preserving cardiovascular and metabolic functions at higher temperatures, right? So higher thresholds, you could say. So main ways you can do that basically is same things we talked before. First thing we talk about is sweat rate, right? It's going to increase sweat rate when it occurs, basically. It's going to occur at a lower, the onset's going to happen at a lower core temperature. Like said before, also other big part of this is going to be in these populations, the actual sodium and potassium concentrations will be decreased in that sweat. So you'll be losing less electrolytes when you sweat. So you might sweat more and you might sweat at a earlier time than unacclimated people, but in competition that's good because you're basically going to be reducing that evaporation of sweat on the skin, lowering skin temperature correctly, right? But also you're going to have basically less important functions lost. For example, sodium and potassium will be lost at a slower rate in that sweat percentage. So then the next thing you're talking about is basically the same thing that's going to lead to, which is basically a lower core temperature loss, right? So you're going to have basically a lower core temperature at rest and lower core temperature at even elevated exercise intervals. And then the other big part of this that I didn't mention in this last video, but I'll mention here, which is really important about exercise, is going to be basically, you're gonna have reduced, you could say, competition between muscle and skin for that blood. Because as we know, basically the body will send blood to the surface of the skin to lower temperature, right? But blood's gonna take away from the working muscle. In a perfect world, all the blood, all the oxygenated blood would go straight from the heart, straight to the working muscle. But the problem with that, the cardiovascular system doesn't work that way because we have to lower temperature. If you're in the heat, you're gonna have to fight against that heat. But acclimation to heat is gonna have all those other things, like the sweat rate and just the overall lower core temperature to basically mitigate the need to sending that blood to the skin. So then basically overall, for athletic performance, the big things here to consider are basically enhanced evaporation and conductive heat loss. Big one right there. Make sure the core temperature stays low. Then we have plasma volume, like we said before. Basically increase plasma volume to stabilize cardiovascular functions. Then we also have preserving oxygen delivery and substrate availability. So keeping those functions normal and assisting in them. And then basically just overall raising the tolerability of how the body is going to tolerate the heat in general.